Well, hello, this is Gene Harm, and I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about U-Boat and my personal feelings now that I have about 300 hours or more of gameplay. And I gotta tell you, the more I play this game, the more I'm finding little nuances about it that I'm just loving. And I wanted to just share some of my thoughts on how great this game is, how fabulous this is as a U-boat game coming on to in a sense to from a series of Silent Hunter and Silent Hunter 3 and Silent Hunter 5 being some of the grand U-boat games in the past, and still a lot of people who love Silent Hunter 3 as the best, and almost taking you all the way back to that phenomenal classic game of Aces of the Deep, which I had played back in the 1990s, and out of that came into finding this wonderful form of sub-sim, and all the way back to 97, 98 time frame. And I think sub-sim started in 96, I'm not even sure, but shortly after that I became a member. We went, Sub-Sim went into a time that was on different venues, different forum servers, until it finally landed on this one. But it's been wonderful being part of this community all these years, and I wanted to talk about my personal feelings on U-Boat. It is such a great game, but there's some things I want to mention that I would like to see when it comes out, the final release. Some things that I think would be an improvement. They're just little things, but certainly would improve the gameplay. Now, I've got it to the point now where, after playing a couple patrols with the normal standard view of looking at the sectional view of the sub and being able to manipulate any of the controls through the sectional cutaway view, to the latest several patrols I've played, all in first-person perspective, and love in first-person perspective. And this game is very well done, so you can play it this way and enjoy the immersive environment. But before I get into that, too, I wanted to talk about a game I haven't played, and this is kind of unfair because I don't want to say U-Boat versus Wolfpack, because I don't know. I haven't played Wolfpack, but I can tell you why I steered away from it, and that has to do with Wolfpack being a multiplayer experience. And if you get together with your friends and each of you playing a different part of the sub, I hate to say play. One of the early arguments in the sub-sim formers, going all the way back to the turn of the century, was stop calling a simulator a game. Well, I think if you're a Wolfpack fan, you may question that anything prior to that was actually could be considered a simulator, and that's a whole argument to itself. But for multiplayer, I don't doubt that getting together with friends, or even meeting new friends you don't know, and experience this with others, I mean, how much better can it be than that? And a sub built with so much detail and simulation into it, probably putting Wolfpack as the top submarine sim ever. But where's that leave somebody like me, who's not one that would be conducive to, or have the time, even if I want to, have the ability, time, the schedule to get aboard with 3 or 4 others, or maybe more, to play the game. And if I only have a few hours here or there, that's my own problem, my own difficulty, and that doesn't take away from Wolfpack being an awesome simulation. But U-boat, I think, unfortunately, U-boat hasn't grabbed the attention and has been underrated because it's come out, along the lines of the same time frame as Wolfpack, and they've both been out a few years now, both in development. Neither one in final release, but there's a split in the community between the two. I don't mean an emotional or split, but there's a split in viewership or gameplayship between the two. Although there's probably some of you that play both, but I'm not. I know now that Wolfpack has got a single player mode, and I still hadn't got to the point where I've tried that out. But the single player mode leaves you, as a single player, still having to do the duties of multiple multiple stations. And so I still see now. I'd love to hear some comments about that. If I'm dead wrong, I could be dead wrong. But my primary thing as a single player is to be command and not try to play all the different stations. In fact, that was one of my fears with U-boat at first. Was it had the crew, and you have to manage the crew, and I didn't want to have to micromanage, and I didn't want to have to feel that I couldn't command the ship, that I had to go play all the different stations. Well, now that I've been doing the first-person perspective and realizing that I don't have to play all the different stations, though I do find myself going and maybe playing from a different perspective, from a different officer, not always finding myself as the captain. And that has to do with the captain's not on shift all, 24/7. Nobody is. But I do want to talk to how to make this game what I feel is a wonderful game. Has so much to, particularly one of the things that I love, but Wolfpack really doesn't have, because your crew is your friends, or you end up playing all the items of the crew. But in U-boat, you can manage a crew or set up a crew to self-manage, and it's one of the things I've been finding that's been wonderful, that you don't have to micromanage your crew. You can set them up to self-manage themselves. But how can we make this game better? So some of my critique I want to get into, and one of the first things is, and I've talked about this before, I got to go to map view to do this. So I'm going to jump out, go to map view. Certainly a lot of things about the map, but we'll get into that. The first thing up, hopefully you can see my mouse arrow. At the moment, what I was doing up there is I got it in battery charge. I got myself down I was below the surface. It's almost Christmas Day. It's Christmas Eve in 1939, 2 in the afternoon, and it's kind of taking a break and surface just to hopefully there won't be any aircraft, and put it in battery charge mode. And that's what we're doing up on the surface, is just letting the engines run. I'm not going anywhere. There are some, as you can see on the map, let me change map views here to the full map. Excuse me. And you can see I plotted where I was watching a convoy come through. I'm kind of waiting on that. But I'm not sure what's going on with that convoy right now. I have to go back down below and see where they're going. But I'm on the surface for a while and get my engines charged, and then talk to you a little bit about these icons up here. That brings up the question, well, if you want to play first-person perspective, can you play without any of these icons? Can you give commands? I mean, I don't know if at some point somebody gives makes a mod in the workshop to do voice-activated commands, but for right now, the way you do commands is up here with these icons through the menu, and of course using this list down here. That's the basic way we give almost all the commands, unless you want to come down below and actually physically or I should say, manually do whatever it is you want to do through the officer you want to work. But my my criticism of this is there are two things: reputation and budget. These two items, I don't need them up here. I like to relegate them to the regular menu. Maybe even put them on this and make this longer, or just put them on the menu. But these two items, journal and crew, I would sure like to have them up here as icons, so I can do an easy one click and get into my journal, or easy one click and get into crew management. So I would exchange these two with the journal and crew and relegate these to menus. So that's just me. That's my opinion. But I would love to see that. Also, there's a couple items I would like to see added to this list. One would be the managing torpedoes. Now, I know in the cutaway view of the sub, you can quickly move from one section to the sub just by scrolling one way, left or right, and then you can click on any of the icons within the cutaway view of the sub, which I can't demonstrate here because I'm in first-person perspective only, and that's the way I'm set up. But all of you who have played know that you can get into torpedo management that way. Torpedo management is critical, especially when you're in action. When you know you got a convoy in the scope and in your sights, and you've used up all your torpedoes, and in first person perspective, the only way to deal with it now is become the torpedo man. And run over to the torpedo, whether it's the forward torpedoes or the aft, but let's just say the forward torpedo. Typically, you would do this with the torpedo man, but I'm using the main engineer right now because our torpedo guy, I have shared duties with the engine with the engines. So the only way now is to kind of walk forward and hit manage torpedoes, and it brings up this screen. It would be nice to have an icon in the map view to get to the screen. As you can see, I have no more left in storage. I had to come over here and move them over here to get that job done. So in first person view, you actually have to become the torpedo man and walk up forward, or as a captain, you could walk up forward and hit manage torpedoes as well. But it would be preferable if I could come to that screen by clicking on an icon here and start moving torpedoes on the fly from a command standpoint without actually playing that character or walking through the sub. Although, this is opinion too. Some of you may want to walk through the sub. So that's one of my criticisms. There is no way to manage torpedoes in first person perspective that I know of. Maybe some of you know some little side nuance that I hadn't thought of to manage torpedoes, because going here, I can get the torpedo guy who happens to be on engines right now, and my engineer is sleeping, but I could get the torpedo guy to go and heat up an individual torpedo. But even when if they're not loaded, there's no command to tell them to load it. If I'm mistaken about that, let me know. I mean, for example, there's no torpedo in the aft torpedo right now, and there's nothing here that brings you to that management screen, even though I know there isn't any in storage. But so I could be wrong. But there's no command there, and there's no command here for managing torpedo. So that would be a nice addition to this game for first person perspective. Obviously, if you're in a cutaway view, you can just slide your mouse over through the cutaway until you hit the button and bring it up. That's not going to be available to the rest of us who are playing first-person perspective. Okay, so I would like an icon added up here for torpedo management. That would be nice, and if the developers don't do it, maybe that's something that a modder could do. I don't know how much modding can do on icons. Access map from the map table. Oh, that's another thing that would be nice. So, to access the map, let's go up to this fella here, and of course, let's open that up, and you have to do everything when you're in first-person perspective. Yep, I didn't mean to close that. Climb on down and say that I want to have my officer access the map. Of course, I could push the M key and it'll go right into the map. But, for immersion or whatever, if I want to do everything manually, I would run up front and manage the torpedoes that way, but I want the option for both. And, of course, I would love to be able to click on the map and it bring up the map. What this does is it brings up the navigation, and of course that means nothing because you don't do anything in navigation other than start the process of navigation. So neither one of these, if one of these could bring up the map instead of navigation, that would be so nice. I mean, that's a fundamental thing you see with all the other sim games, is be able to go to the map station and click on the map. You could also go to the, as far as the journal, of course, you can go to the captain's bunk, and the little table there has the journal, so that's good. But there's no way to access the map. Now, while we're down here, I want to walk over to the echo sounder. You have to physically walk and click the echo sounder to do it. So many of you want to play that way, but I don't understand why there isn't a way to click on the echo sounder either on an icon, or another way would be to add the echo sounder to the devices. That would be pretty cool. I think just add the echo sounder to the devices here, and then you can have, if you're up top on watch, you can command a sailor to go hit the echo sounder and report the sounding. That would be nice. And so that's another little thing that I would like to see put into this game for improvement and for better gameplay. Automatic save, we're experiencing that now. That's been awesome. What else do I have? I'm sure you can think of dozens of these, but I'm just thinking of a few. Right now, sometimes these gauges aren't working correctly. It's working at the moment. It's showing the telegraph is showing the right. In this case, it's loading, charging, but sometimes it doesn't show the right speed. I'll set it on, let's say, forward 1, and then after a while I'll put it on full stop, and the gauge will continue to show forward 1. But that's a problem that's not working right. So it's not really one of the things I'm talking about. Particular items I'd like to see changed or added. So, that's something that hopefully has been reported. If not, I'll look in reporting that. But another thing I'd like to see added, other than access to the map table and those icons, is allow room on the map, on the world map. Allow, not room. I'm sorry, I'm not reading my notes right. So when you go to the map, we're in the full map. The full map is, to me, is an arcade. It's the way of playing the game, in an arcade way of playing the game, where you got this little reality thing, and if you can see the ocean, you can see your sub, you can see other ships, and it allows you, and actually, not only allows you to do this, it almost influences you as a game player to use these cheats that you wouldn't have and there's no way to turn it off. And if you did turn it off, you would lose your ability to actually do surface attacks or submerged submerged attacks using the periscope, because without this arcade view, there's no other way to do an attack using these tools. This attack map doesn't have the tools and still gives you the arcade view. So I don't really understand the attack map. I found nobody talking about it out there in social media, and maybe I need to do some more searches on Subsim to see if there's something that somebody talks about the technical map, but I really don't know what they were thinking. A couple things that would make it better is if the full map, if there was a checkbox in the settings, on gameplay settings, on your options, when you go in here, if there was a checkbox to turn off that map, that would be kind of neat, that just turn that off. But then how would you use the tactical, how would you do an attack? Because if you use the full map, which has the tools to do it, you can't zoom in. So it wouldn't make any sense to turn off the full map until you had the ability to zoom. Now, I know in Workshop somebody did that. That mod has been deprecated, and maybe it still functions even though it's been deprecated. What I mean by deprecated, it means it's no longer recognized to function fully in the latest revision of development. So I am using the compass mod. This one's also deprecated, but it works fine. It hasn't caused me any trouble. But it would be nice if some of these were updated to the latest development. Maybe they will be once we have the final release of UBOAT. But that's some of my thoughts on that. Is on the map, back to the map, not so much looking for a modder to take care of this, but really for the development team, for UBOAT itself, to allow zoom here on this map, or even better, what would be even better is keep the world map the way it is, allow the full map to be checked off if you don't want to play the arcade style of play, and then add functionality to the attack map. So what I mean by functionality to attack map is you would add the tools, so you can use the attack tools, you can use all the navigational tools that you have on the other maps, add them to this map. You already have the zoom, you already can zoom out to some extent, but you would have those tools available to you, and you would eliminate the this cheat. Eliminate this cheat. That would be wonderful too. But one thing about using the world map, keeping the tools there and using it with a zoom function, is you can actually do some navigation with it, where I can do some navigation with it now because you have the tools. You can still center on your sub wherever that may be, and then use these tools to do some navigation. I actually do that to some extent, but a zoom function here would help on real world navigation if some workshop mod helped with that, and the attack map being actually functional, where you had tools and you eliminated the arcade style cheats, and to be able to, you wouldn't even have to check this full map off, you can just not use it, but some people would probably prefer to have it checked off. But right now I find that the way gameplay works, because the attack map doesn't really do much and still has this eyeball into the bird's eye view of what's going on, a full cheat where you see all of your target ships and where they're located. um, you almost can't play without it because we don't have a proper attack map. So that's some of my criticisms, how this could be better. But I'm loving this game. It's phenomenal. It is much better the more you play it and the more you start seeing it, especially in the crew management. If there's anything I can say that possibly would give this game an edge over Wolfpack is crew management, because I'm finding originally I wondered about crew management because I didn't want to have to micromanage crew, but now I'm finding that crew management here, the way it's been implemented, is much better than I thought. And I don't believe most people who've even spent many patrols have dived into crew management to understand how good it is. And I would recommend that you think more deeply about the crew management. The way I got mine set up, just for a point of view here, is I got 3 leaders, so my captain is really can do whatever he wants because he has a leader that will be on the same time he's on, doing all the functions. So this really frees him up for command and to go to watch if he wants to, and then an alternative leader to do all those things while this fella is off shift and the captain's off shift. Having 2 leaders to do that besides the captain, 2 engineers. One is your torpedo man, but does the engines while my full-time engineer is sleeping, and then having 2 radio guys. To me, that is fabulous. You have to have 7 officers, but doing that with 2 shifts, you have everything covered. So that's one of the things that I've been loving, using crew management, and then having the sailors do their part. One of the things, and it takes time, and I think I'm saying take some time on learning more about crew management. Ask these little questions and then test it to see. One of the things I'm testing right now in crew management is the age-old question: why not have a sailor turn on and off the red light in the daylight during the shift changes? I've heard that expressed by so many out there in social media, in the subsim forums, and in the YouTube videos. It's an aggravation. But what I just did was, maybe we don't know, and I'm finding out a lot of things that we complain about are actually built in the game if you take time to find out. Now, I don't know the truth of this. This is something I'm testing. But if I go into crew management, unfortunately, there's no quick icon. You have to go to the menu and click there, and you look at the schedule of tasks, and task, and you go to your sailors. Turning the power switch task, increasing the power switch task to a higher number, we may find that the crew will do that automatically without us commanding it to be done. I'm testing that now. Maybe I'll have to push that up to a higher number. I'm not afraid of that because it only takes a second. So it's not like it's going to compete with their regular tasks because it only takes them a moment to do it. So we may find that task is taken care of and that question is taken care of, and the very things people are complaining about are already taken care of in the game, and we just don't know it yet. So one of the things I'm checking on. The same thing is when you get into a situation where you need the bulkheads to be closed, you have to manually do it. Maybe if you increase the priority on that the sailors would do that too for you. So all these things I'm checking out, and as I go through and check them, I'm surprised that Yes, it's true. They're going to be doing those things. Are these? I'm just checking them now, so I don't know for sure. But there were other things like cleaning and watch and stuff that they are doing, and I no longer have to manage or micromanage. They're doing it and just setting those priorities correct. So those are the things that I've been thinking about and would like to see implemented in the next release. You know, some of this can be handled by modders, but I would love to see this stuff done, by the development team to make this, right out of the box. Right out of the box. Who buys a box anymore? But right out of the box, to be there. So some of the things I would love to see to make a great game even better. And I do think this is a great game. And once this thing is finally released and we get more mods to it, I really do see the sub-sim future in U-Boat and Wolfpack. But what I'm saying is it's not really Wolfpack versus U-Boat. In my mind, it's Wolfpack and U-Boat. They're just two different animals, two different U-Boat games to provide for the community two ways of playing U-Boat. One is in a community setting with friends, and maybe single player for a different style of play, and U-Boat to be the follow-up of the type of simulation, submarine simulations that we've been accustomed to over the years, as we had enjoyed with Silent Hunter as single play. So one really better multiplayer, and the other really a really fantastic single player. I do think U-Boat is a fantastic single player game with the crew management functions like we've dreamed about. I didn't think it at first, but the more I played, the more I'm really impressed with crew management. So that's all for now. I'd love to hear your comments on that. I'm not asking for anybody to tap or subscribe or anything like that. I don't put advertisement. I'm not trying I'm not selling anything or trying to make money or build a channel. I hardly, I don't post all the time, and I post all kinds of different things. So that's not my aim. My aim is for the community, to add to the community, to add my voice to the community, and I love to be, I love to be heard. So I wouldn't mind seeing viewership for that, but I'm not after any kind of, any kind of count in a sense. But really liking it. So there's things like you see that we're right up against Christmas. We're in Christmas Eve, and you can see a little heat coming up from that from below decks. Need to close that, but you also see that guy's smoking, but you also see during the cold winter months, you'll see you can see your breath, you can see your own breath, and you can see the sailor's breath when they're out in the cold. Kind of fun. All these things you don't even notice. Like you could see a little bit of mist coming off the wave breaks in the distance. There's so much to this game that you take for granted, or you don't notice at first. And then you start noticing these little things. I love just looking out over the sea or daydreaming and just looking down in the foam. It's just a beautiful game. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I encourage you to give it a chance if you haven't already. Even if you love Wolfpack and you're playing Wolfpack on those off times where you don't have time to get together with friends, go ahead and give U-Boat a chance. During those few simple hours that you may have. So that's it for now, and hopefully you enjoy this game, and certainly comment below if you have your own thoughts on this. Thanks for watching.